Time is now 6:11. I would like to have our staff to prepare to get started. This meeting was noticed for 6 o'clock, and I want to keep us on track. So we'll be starting in approximately 4 minutes for a 6:15 p.m. call to order. So please govern yourselves accordingly.
This feels a little tight, but I'm sure it's gonna be just fine. I'm thinking that. So put in her bag there. Oh. I'm okay. Wow, yeah, this is tight. This is and there's an empty table then there's an empty table over there. This is okay. Alright, let me just get some eating going. I won't worry about it.
Where's the clerk? Is the clerk calling roll? Where is she? Oh, okay. Now I get the friends and family discount, right? Auntie Mary, right?
Never like this setup. We got the audience behind us. I just never like it.
That might not turn on.
Oh, I tried to turn it off.
Yeah, it wouldn't turn off. Just push it down. Good. Everybody ready? Ready? Everybody ready?
All right.
Y'all ready? Everybody ready?
You like that, right?
Good evening, everyone. Would like to welcome everyone to the City of Miramar Recapture the Vision presentation that will be conducted. By the city manager and staff. At this time, may I have the roll call?
Mayor Massam,
Here.
Commissioner Barnes,
Here.
Commissioner Chambers,
Here.
Commissioner Colburn,
Here.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Here.
City Manager Hargrave, City Attorney Cole,
Here.
City Attorney Smith. Here.
Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And in lieu of the flag, let's face the screen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could have IT come up and turn off this mic, please.
At this time, we'll observe a moment of silence for any condolences in the community. Thank you. At this time, I would like to call forward Assistant City Manager and City Spokesperson, Ms. Sean Gale, to extend welcome and greetings.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City staff, our valued residents, our business owners, and our community partners. Welcome to the 2019 City of Miramar Recapturing the Vision, the past, the present, and the future. My name is Sean Gale. I am Assistant City Manager and City Spokesperson for the City of Miramar. And in my capacity this afternoon, I will be serving as your Mistress of Ceremonies for this visioning session. If there are any elected officials in the audience, could you please rise to be recognized? Seeing none, I'd like to let you know that you received some comment cards when you entered this afternoon. As the presentation proceeds, if you would please write questions or comments on the cards, and staff will collect them afterwards. In 2010, city staff received a letter from a resident that reads as follows. To anyone who loves Miramar, we bought a house in Miramar and moved in on August 1st, 1958. When I looked out at my front door at 3111 Southwest 68th Avenue, the picture enclosed is what I saw. No shopping center and no houses except on the north side of Miramar Parkway. The water tower in the distance has been a beacon for me and made me always feel good when I return home from a trip. I'm so glad that you did not tear it down, as it always makes me feel good still. Just thought you might like to see that Miramar is at the end of the rainbow. Sincerely, Carlene Swain. This letter likened the city of Miramar to a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Gold that may otherwise slip through our fingers unless we recapture the vision. Almost 60 years later, we have embarked on a journey to do just that, to recapture the vision by reflecting on the past, reaffirming the present, and rewriting the script for the future. The photograph also represented a blank slate, one for future leaders to develop in the true spirit of community enhancement, to make Miramar a place residents and businesses want to call home and visitors excited to visit. This afternoon, we will take you through the purpose, history, mission, and vision. The past for historic Miramar. The present, what we're doing right now. And the future as we envision it for this great city. And that is why we entitled this afternoon session, Recapturing the Vision. The past, the present, and the future. Bearing in mind that the city of Miramar is always in national discussion, state discussion, local discussion. We're always part of the buzz. We have been featured in the Florida Trend. These two articles represent the May and June issues, as you can see. At the helm of any great organization has to be a true visionary. This afternoon, I would like to present to some and introduce to others the visionary that we call city manager for the city of Miramar. Please put your hands together and help me welcome our city manager, Mr. Vernon E. Hargray.
It's very difficult for me to sit at the mic with my loud mouth in there. And I'm more comfortable just speaking to everyone because I'm at home. In 1997, the same area right here, the commission voted for me to be the director of a public works utility in the city. So it's something special for me to come back home to know that this is where it all started. It started in 1997 when a young lady named Elaine Johnson convinced me to come to Miramar to make a difference. I didn't want to come, so I sent her first. But during that journey, there are a lot of challenges. And sometimes there's a time and a season for everything. You see, in 1996, the utility director and the public works engineer director came to Tamarack where I was the director over utilities. And the question that he needed help with is how do we develop the western part of the city? Nothing but property, and everyone knows nothing but grass, swamps, and everything. The problem was you had a lot of property owners. In fact, you had one of the biggest one back at Jim Goggins who rode this trail with me, the Answers family. But we had to come up with a calculation on how, with equity, make sure that everyone paid their fair share for water and sewer that was going to be bonded out, which ended up being the largest assessment program in the United States. It was a challenge. We took on that challenge. But there was something that still stuck in my heart, and that is we're concentrating on the western portion of the city. Being a military army Well, now after 25 years, it's time for the historic Miramar to recover the maturity of their bond. All right? So no, we did not forget about historic Miramar, but we had to have a strategy. The strategy is that if we would support the western part of the city, that there would be a reap of benefits because now we can have one city, one utilities, one sewer, because you know what? There used to be, those remember, there was a water bill for the east and a water bill for the west. We merged both together. Merging this when we talking about one Miramar. What the benefits are here today. And what you're going to see tonight in here is that the journey. This afternoon, I had the privilege of being with Dr. Ismail, and we talked about the journey. And there were a lot of sacrifices. We had a lot of casualties, too. Let me say it again. We had a lot of casualties. The one thing I've learned by being a lieutenant in the military is that leaders are not born automatically. All right? You have to have passion about the people that you represent. It was the employees of Miramar that stuck with me. It was the employees that believed that I could deliver. There was the employees that felt my pain, but knew that we had to keep moving on. It's the same employees that we have now. And we have to make sure that we take care of our community, our home base. My son is 30 years old. He went to Miramar High School. And he played basketball in the gym, PAL program, because the police department felt fit to do something in our community. It's always been that way. You have people like Reggie, all right, that were a mentor for the kids in our community. All our kids in here have someone in Miramar. So what has happened and what has changed in here? I'll set the place. One day, I was over there with that same thing they're talking about, with Miramar. And I saw all these kids coming out. And I kept wondering where they were going because I just knew it was going to be some facility or something where they go at with kids. But every place you go at, in Chicago where I go at, you go to the wild, there's somewhere you go at. What I realized that the kids didn't have no place to go. Then the following day I came back and looked and saw the kids and I saw the kids fighting. So I decided that I'm going to get out of my car, white city car, and I'm going to say, these brothers and sisters, y'all don't need to be fighting with each other. When I tell my staff, I got rocks. They do more rocks than me. Now I could have reacted, all right. You know what I'm saying? Right back at them. But there was something special about that situation here because it made me start thinking. Instead of me reacting, what can I do to make sure that this don't happen anymore? That's why you see the youth center, because of those kids. It's all about the kids. It's all about the community. It's not about us. My staff truly understand that. When it's all said and done, it's about the children. So as we go through this presentation, as we go through this journey, we're talking about the 441 corridor. We're talking about Miramar in terms of somehow, if you are not moving, I've heard somebody tell me, if you stay still and don't do anything, then the only thing you do is regress. It's a time for a change. It's a time. But God has a time and a season for everything. So it's no rush. It is time now. So this afternoon, the staff, and I'm so proud of the staff, to tell you the story and where we feel that this city needs to move forward, but also capturing the past, looking at the future, and telling everyone what we feel and think will be the best options for this city.
Thank you, Mr. Hargray. In order to chart the course for the future, we must reflect on the past, the efforts to develop historic Miramar, the hurdles we had to overcome, the missed opportunities, and other factors that delayed our progress. Here to talk about these challenges is Mr. Eric Silva, Director of Community Development.
Good evening. Thank you, Sean. I'm going to start off and talk about the past of historic Miramar. Planning efforts and studies have been ongoing in historic Miramar since the mid-90s. It started off with a vision plan to bring the neighborhood together and talk about what they would like to dream to happen in East Miramar. Included in this was also county, regional, state agencies through the State Road 7 charrette. This was a charrette process where the community came out and they all put their ideas on paper, put them up on the wall, and talked about those ideas and shared them with the community. All the stakeholders were involved in that. After that, the city created a transit-oriented corridor. I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but in general, that's a new zoning district to spur redevelopment. Infrastructure investment occurred, new facilities were built, and the city received millions of dollars in grants from the state and federal government to help rehab commercial businesses and improve homes. So given all this effort and all that time and all that money, what happened? What delayed progress? One of the factors was the city did not create a community redevelopment agency, a CRA. In 2002, the city and a consulting firm embarked on a study to see if all the properties from 441 to 64th Avenue, running along Miramar Parkway, all the way to the Turnpike, met the requirements for the state statutes for a community redevelopment agency. Each property was evaluated. They looked at the drainage, they looked at the housing, and they found that those properties met the requirements for the state. At the last minute, there was a decision not to adopt the community development agency. So this was a critical decision because it eliminated a dedicated funding source, the ability to have bonds, assist business owners, and market the area. Some of the other benefits that could have occurred if we created a CRA at that time: blight would have been eliminated, improve the economic health of the area, and encourage investment. And a key component that we don't think about sometimes is the staff. CRAs throughout Broward County have dedicated staff. So what that means is at least one person, sometimes an engineer, and other staff are involved too. And those staff, all they do, their whole 40-hour work week is work in that CRA. They work with the business owners. They work on infrastructure improvements. And that time is very important to the property owners. The other key component is tax increment financing. So if the city had decided back in 2002 to create that CRA, whatever the tax value was then, it would have been stopped, and any new taxes generated in that area would have gone into the CRA. So what that means is the property owners actually don't pay more. Their millage doesn't go up, but it's called the increment. The increment increase would only go into the CRA area. So staffing, the increment, and the ability to have an identification for the area and marketing is very important, but that didn't occur, unfortunately. Many other cities in Broward County at this time, 18 cities, more than half of the cities in the county, took advantage of that legislation and created CRAs. And many of these cities have shown great benefits, including 5 along 441. These are some of the cities that have existing CRAs. Starting in the bottom left-hand corner, that one is in Plantation. Plantation along State Road 7 has a CRA. That's a picture of a mixed-use development. Includes residential, includes office, includes retail, restaurants at the southeast corner. It's a beautiful design with nice landscaping and barrel tile roofs and some metal roofs too. Also on State Road 7, Lauderhill. That's a new shopping center. Well, a few years old now, but it's got some bright colors and new metal roofs. And you can tell it creates a pedestrian environment in the front with some outdoor seating too. Over in the bottom right-hand corner, that's Delray Beach. Delray Beach was one of the first CRAs in South Florida, one of the most successful CRAs. It started off on the east along the beach. Along the beach, it's not that hard really to redevelop, but it's going west now. It's going towards 95, so it's really, really grown and expanded a lot. Fort Lauderdale, in the middle of the slide, that's a building in Fort Lauderdale at Andrews Avenue and Sistrunk Boulevard. 10, 20 years ago, that was an old boat yard. They used to have boats there. That's an affordable housing project, Progresso Point. And many people associate affordable housing with, it doesn't look that nice, it doesn't have that many windows, there's not many amenities. These buildings have pools on the 5th floor or so. It looks like a hotel. It's beautiful, round curves. But that was a partnership with the CRA, state funds, and the developer to build that. Pompano Beach, over on the right-hand side in the middle of the slide. Pompano Beach also has a CRA along the beach. And they started off a little bit slow at the beginning. The ride with the county was a little rough at the beginning, but now they're very successful. And that garage there, the city put in money for that through the CRA. And now there's an article in the paper just last weekend about how business owners are flocking to the area, and they're all going to benefit from that county garage because the businesses don't have to provide parking. The city's paying for it with the CRA money. And at the top of the slide, that's Hollywood along the beach. And like I said earlier, the beach is not that hard to redevelop, but I want to illustrate that CRAs can also improve the tourist environment too. So they can help residents improve their daily lives, but can also be used to help bring tourism into the area. So what would happen if the city created a CRA? If we had created that CRA back in the 2000s, we would have at least $7 million to reinvest. But unfortunately, a little bit after that time period, the mid-2000s, Broward County decided we're not going to give cities any more of our tax increment, so you have to go it on your own. They decided to create this program called the Broward Redevelopment Program, and we've applied several times, and we've received a couple of grants for about $3 million in total. Those have been primarily for streetscape, landscaping improvements, which are nice beautification projects, but they're nothing like those buildings that I saw on the previous slide.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. In addition to these challenges mentioned, with us not having a CRA, one major factor affecting progress has been money. So right now we'll invite Budget Director, Mr. Norman Mason, to discuss the funding challenges. Mr. Mason.
Thank you, Sean. Good evening. We're going to take a little bit of time. Thank you. Appreciate that. We're going to take a little bit of time to look at the 90s. When the manager assigned me this, I said the 1890s, but no, the 1990s. So I don't have to remember far back when I was a kid. So what was happening in the 1990s? We can remember because we can learn from what happened in the past. We don't want to stay in the past, as the city manager said. But there were some companies, Amazon. People ask, what is it? eBay. What is eBay? Yahoo. Is that a mispronunciation for a chocolate drink? Yoo-hoo. But those companies were just emerging through the internet, a whole new platform. So that bubble started to form in the mid to late 90s. I was involved in that in banking and traded those stocks every day. In about March of 2000, unfortunately, 6, 7 companies reported earnings and revenues. We all know you can't double and triple your revenues year after year, and they all fell short for the first time in their infancy, those companies, led by those 3. So that started the bubble to burst. The NASDAQ market trading place dropped from 5,000 points to under 1,100 in the next year to a year and a half. So that was a lesson to be learned. Unrealistic expectations cost billions of dollars in the marketplace. The reason I say that is you have to learn from that. In budgeting, that's what we do, make sure the numbers look right, trend-wise and average-wise. So recovery started in 2001. More realistic numbers, the companies started to improve their revenues in realism with the projections. Then we all know what happened on September 11th. That wasn't an economic shock, that was a terrorist shock. So again, the loss of life was great, much more than the economy. However, it did slow the economy and cause more uncertainty. People like me and market traders, we don't like uncertainty. We want consistency. We can't predict the future with uncertainty. So that started a flight to quality. Where can we go? Because stocks are out of favor, bonds don't deliver, so cash doesn't keep up with what you need. So the flight was to real estate. The housing bubble started in the early 2000s and grew forward. What happened? Subprime mortgages were awarded, unfortunately, to people who had no responsibility or ability to keep up with that mortgage. For a few years they did, and then it started to fall apart. Again, just like the internet bubble, you can't keep doing that. So the housing bubble started to burst in late 2007. In September 2008, one of the largest investment firms closed its doors and collapsed. Billions of dollars gone. Lehman Brothers. That caused not only a domestic problem, an international banking crisis. Again, the flight to quality of real estate had now failed. All those millions of dollars in mortgage-backed securities, you trade those against securities, they failed because the mortgages failed. Investors buy them to get the revenue streams from the mortgage payments. Well, if people can't make the mortgage payments, then that caused a failure in that area. So I'm trying to show you all the uncertainty that was occurring in that first 10 years of the century. So what happened? You had to move towards some type of relief in the reform of property taxes. All this uncertainty, though, precluded that, and you went into a great recession we all know about in 2008 and 9, and that was the result of all the uncertainty you see on the screen there, as well as, of course, 9/11. So now we'll go to the next slide to look at some of the property tax reform. So in parallel, as we learn again, while all this was going on, the state of Florida, they proposed relief to homeowners. The first relief was an attempt to go to rollback rates. In my opinion, the problem with rollback rates, it only works in a zero inflation environment. So you're taxing people at the same dollars to receive the same amount last year and the year before, and so you adjust the millage rate. We all know $100 today will buy a basket of goods. Next year, it won't buy the same basket of goods, or 5 or 10 years from now. So inflation precludes that. So the rollback rate, they listened to it. It was calculated. We used it to judge what needed to be taxed in the next year, but it wasn't implemented. Then they decided to go with a sales tax. So that was a proposal to the state to increase the sales tax and eliminate property taxes. You all know from budgeting, I've taught you, don't tie your revenues to something that's not reliable. Don't pay your mortgage with something other than your paycheck. Make sure you pay it with what is guaranteed. Sales tax. I have one more example. A luxury tax was put in on the yachting industry about that time. Luxury tax, 25 to 50%. Fix the seawalls. Tax all these wealthy people who were going to buy yachts and build new yachts. You know what those wealthy people did? They said, we ain't buying, we ain't building. So they said, we make our money, we aren't throwing it away on luxury tax. So that failed. So you have to watch when you propose something to generate revenue. If it's not something that's secure, it's tied to volume, you may not get the revenue. So the state calculated the impact on local government if you went through a sales tax proposal or a rollback on a consistent basis. Over the next 10 years in 2006 to 16, $40 to $50 billion would have been gone from city government throughout the state of Florida. That's just the state of Florida, $40 to $50 billion. That would have crumbled the infrastructure. There would be no money available, as the city manager talked about. People just stay still, don't do anything. And that's what many cities did. Like a deer in the headlights, they froze. You don't know if you go forward or back, so you just stay still. And that's what many cities did, unfortunately, at that time. The city of Miramar didn't do that. They didn't freeze, they didn't stop. So they used their revenue streams, as I talked about, reliable revenues, and they tied those to bonds to get the financing they needed to build the infrastructure. A city like Fort Lauderdale, 60, 70-year-old buildings, they froze. They didn't address it. So now they had to address it after the buildings are 90 years old, but back then they didn't address it. Many cities didn't do that. Fortunately, Miramar did address its infrastructure needs through the utilization of the bonds, a very timely thing to do. Don't freeze and do nothing, as the manager said. So now we'll elaborate on what some of those accomplishments were in terms of the critical infrastructure in Miramar.
So even with the funding challenges, even without having a CRA, the city found a way to do major investment in infrastructure to set the stage for redevelopment, water treatment plant, and public facilities. Let's welcome Assistant City Manager Whittingham Gordon to discuss these accomplishments, reflecting on how we adapted to internal and external challenges.
Thank you, Ms. Gale, and good evening to everyone in here. So you heard the missed opportunities with CRA, the great economic downturn, and the Florida property tax reform. But in spite of all that negative economic tsunami, the city did not freeze, as mentioned by our budget director. Instead, we went out very aggressively and reinvested in East Miramar infrastructure, knowing that the west side would be built out and redevelopment would follow on the east. As you may know, the vast majority of historic Miramar infrastructure was built in the early 1950s. So to set the stage for redevelopment, in 2007, the city started the process of borrowing state revolving loan at very low interest rate to address these 5 core areas. Replacing septic tank with city sewer, upsizing water main for fire protection, which also lead to insurance rating for our residents. Drainage improvement for flood protection. In East Miramar, there was no drainage. Our East water treatment plant renovation and streetscape improvements. As you can imagine, this was a major undertaking that affected thousands of residents and business from 441 to University Drive. So this was done in phases. So what I want to do here now is go through this map and go through all these phases. Phase 1 was completed in 2008 at a cost of $22 million. Again, water, sewer, drainage, and roadways improvement. Phase 2 was completed in 2013 at a cost of $4.7 million. And we're currently working on phase 3 at $22.7 million, scheduled to be finished end of 2020. And I want to say to those residents in those areas, be patient, we're coming, it's going to be over in a few. But I know there's a growing pain that you're feeling right now. So we got future phases coming up. And phase 4 is a part of our future phases. And that's scheduled to start in 2020 at $11.7 million. We got phase 5, 2023, it's cost of $6 million. And phase 6, 2026, at $31.1 million. Our water main improvement for the entire area started back in 2007. And we've just completed the entire East Miramar water line improvement. Now, all the construction we just talked about are horizontal construction. Once construction is completed, you don't see it, you don't hear it, it's out of sight, out of mind. Again, people in phase 3, soon be out of your way. The next major undertaking is a vertical construction above ground, and that is the rehabilitation of our East Water Treatment Plant. This plant was built in the early 1950s. It is outdated. It's an outdated lime softener plant, and we've gotten just about every drop of water you can get out of a plant right now. And I want to also take this opportunity to say thanks to the men and women who work in that area, because it's not an easy plant to run. This is a very, very old, integrated plant. So today, as I speak, it's on renovation. Phase 2 is scheduled for completion in October of 2019, which will include the installation of all the membrane system and sending water to the public as early as the end of this month. Phase 2A is the demolition portion of the old water treatment plant, and that is slated to be finished in July of 2020. Again, this will be a new membrane state-of-the-art water treatment plant with the same water quality as our West Water Treatment Plant at a cost of $28 million. So, after we started with the underground infrastructure work, the next undertaking was to work on the appearance and the functionality of our roadway. The first roadway project was started by Florida Department of Transportation. That's along State Road 7 in the late 2000s. This includes sidewalks, drainage, and median improvement at a cost of $35 million. You can see how efficient State Road 7 is now moving vehicles and pedestrians. Next, our city focused on its major thoroughfare roadway, which is Miramar Parkway, and that's between State Road 7 and 69th Avenue. And we're now in the final phase between 64th Avenue and 68th Avenue. And most recently, this commission approved a landscape improvement contract for beautification for Miramar Parkway between the Turnpike Overpass and the University Drive. So the entire Miramar Parkway between University Drive and 441 is having a facelift, and will be looking very attractive by the end of 2020. Here's a summary of improvement completed from 2007 to present. Miramar total contributions $156 million. FDOT did $35 million, as I mentioned earlier, for a grand total of $191.5 million. Next, here's a summary of public facility that was built over the last decade. A grand total of $38 million for all these public infrastructure you just seen here. You've seen here. So as you can see, the city has spent up to $200 million on historic Miramar infrastructure over the last decade, which means that historic Miramar is ready for any type of development that's coming to East Miramar. And with that, I want to say thank you.
So as you heard, since 2007, the city spent tens of millions of dollars in horizontal and vertical investments. However, to further encourage development, it was necessary to remove some barriers. These were presented by land use and zoning restrictions, and as such, the city established the transit-oriented corridor, which was established to remove these barriers. Mr. Silva will now explain what it is and how it works. Mr. Silva.
Thank you. So one of the ways that the city adapted was to remove the regulatory restrictions related to land use, zoning, and development in the area. Based on those neighborhood studies, based on the public input and what they had to say about their community, the city took the initiative to coordinate with Broward County to amend what's called the Future Land Use Map. And what that is generally just colors on a map that show what you can build. You can build residential here because it's yellow, you can build commercial here because it's red, but the county controls that. So the city had to go to the county and tell them, we want to take these separated uses and put them together to allow for mixed use by right and create a transit-oriented corridor land use first. They were able to agree to that and get that adopted. The next step was to create a similar zoning district, also called transit-oriented corridor. So what that means, once the zoning was changed, that restaurant or business that you visited 30 years ago, for example, they could change their uses. They could now have a restaurant, an office, residential, all kinds of uses on one property. This would allow entertainment uses together and encourage employment opportunities. Keeping in mind, the reason why this was successful with the county and other agencies was because 441 is the main transit corridor, the busiest transit corridor in the county. Some of the benefits of the transit-oriented corridor zoning district. Administrative plan review. That means staff reviews the plans. If you meet the code, it's approved. There's no need to go in front of the city commission. There's no need to spend a lot of money on attorneys. You can get it done much faster. And also the fees are reduced. The fees are 50% less for that plan review. Once the plan review is complete and the building permits are submitted, that permit review is expedited. So we have staff specifically assigned to those permits to move them forward quickly as possible. As I mentioned earlier, multiple uses are allowed by right. No need to change the zoning, it's already done. Everybody knows 441 has a lot of car dealerships, auto-related uses. So when that code was adopted, the city said, we're gonna let these businesses stay there and they can continue to prosper with their auto uses. But we've been going out and talking to them and trying to get them to realize the benefits of the transit corridor. You can have these multiple uses on one property. We've shown people drawings of auto uses on the bottom, auto uses in multiple story buildings, and we've seen those in other parts of South Florida. There's ways to get it done, and this zoning district allows those types of uses to coexist with new uses. And the last two bullet points are two key components for developers. The amount of buildable area you can get on your property. We reduced the requirements for the buffer yard to allow for more building. We reduced the landscape requirements, and we reduced the parking requirements. There's a 35% less parking required in this area. And that's not unusual. In downtown Fort Lauderdale, for example, there is no parking required for residential because of the city garages. And that may be the next step. We may have to go forward and build something like that to encourage more development. So a few projects, just wanted to point out a few, a few beautification projects that have occurred in the area. And these projects were funded through our federal grant funding, the CDBG program. And you can see here VP Records and La Via and Rose Banquet Hall. And this program allows for improvements such as new painting, new facades, new windows, and landscaping gets improved too with these projects. Then this shopping center is interesting. It's by 64th Avenue, Miramar Parkway. Half the plaza approved and received that funding for the commercial rehabilitation program. And you can see the new stone. The landscaping in front of the plaza is also improved. But half the plaza, the different owners, and he didn't want to apply for that program, so it still looks the same. But small steps, but these kinds of things help encourage investment, encourage people to notice these things. And as more people notice, bigger and better things will come. In total, 15 projects have received funding through the commercial facade program. Moving into the present, historic Miramar, new buildings are starting to come out of the ground. Most of that ongoing redevelopment activity has been related to residential, which isn't unusual. The rooftops come first, and then the commercial businesses come after that. At the top of the slide, there's two projects, Najib Gardens on 64th Avenue by Southwest 26th Street. They've got one building that was just completed, and they're actually advertising their rental rates now on their website. And they're going to build another building across the street, 15 more units. There's a project, The Palms at Miramar, which many of you may have seen on the way here. It's also by 64th Avenue and Southwest 27th Street, and you can see it when you drive down the Parkway. So we see it as residents, business owners see it. Once developers start seeing this, they're going to realize that there's a reason to come here and invest their money. Two projects that we're reviewing now in permitting, working with Habitat for Humanity to build 6 homes in the area by Snake Warriors Park, and also Positano. It's a townhome project, 35 townhomes in the same area. And there's a small project that I wanted to point out called Martin Apartments. It's only 8 units, but the creativity that's been used on this project, it's only 50 feet wide. And you can see that design that they've applied at the bottom. It's something different to the city. So that's a developer that's not from the area. He's from somewhere else, but he wanted to come to Miramar and add that to the city. Commercial development. The shopping plaza, the old Winn-Dixie Shopping Plaza by County Line Road, recently finished an expansion of about 14,000 square feet on the east end. But once that's finished, now they're working on another expansion. They're going to build 10,000 square feet of strip plaza on the western side, and it's going to include restaurants and retail uses. So the commercial businesses are starting to notice the residential improvements and the rooftops that are coming to the area.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. In partnership to enhance beauty and progress, we must have what our city manager calls skin in the game. As such, the City Commission has approved an economic development fund. And in addition, we have 2 federally approved opportunity zones. So what does that mean to you, you might ask? Well, here to answer that question is our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Susan Gooding-Liebert.
Thank you, Sean. Good evening, everyone. In July 2018, the city established the Miramar Economic Development Fund. The dollars in the fund are to be used for citywide economic development activities. The goal is to support improvements to commercial, residential, and public properties. The fund currently has $2.8 million, of which 80%, hear that, 80% is earmarked for historic Miramar redevelopment. Right here, 80%. Potential projects range from parcel assembly, commercial facade enhancements, facilitated redevelopment, and a variety of other improvements to beautify the area, as well as development and investment interests. The 2017 Tax Cut and Job Act incentivized investors to reinvest their capital gain dollars in a qualified opportunity zone. So what are opportunity zones? They are low-income census tracts which were nominated by the governor and certified by the U.S. Department of Treasury. There's 25% of the state low-income tracts are designated as opportunity zone. There are 427 in the state of Florida. So why should they bring their investment here to Miramar? The criteria for choosing the opportunity zones, just a little background, they looked at unemployment rate, they looked at the poverty rate, and they also looked at other economic indicators. And we submitted 5 tracts, however, 2 were selected. And they looked at the tracts that needed the most help. Within Zone 1, the unemployment rate was 15.5%. Within Zone 2, the unemployment rate was 14.7. The poverty rate in Zone 1 was 22.2, and the poverty rate in Zone 2 was 27.3. So these are areas that really need redevelopment. That's why these tracks were chosen. Track 1 is Turnpike to the west, Southwest 64th Avenue to the east, Miramar Parkway to the south, and Southwest 25th Street to the north. Zone 2 is County Line Road to the south, State Road 7 to the east, Southwest 64th Avenue to the west, and Southwest 25th Street to the north. So, investing in Opportunity Zone, this is an excellent program that will aid redevelopment, revitalization for portions of historic Miramar. So we at the city, we must make connection between the developers, investors, and the community to work together to drive our vision. Not their vision, but Miramar's vision. So we at Miramar have created our vision. You're hearing it today. And we will market that vision to the investors and developers so that we all have a tie-in, a buy-in between investment in our community and our local leaders to make our opportunity zone a success. So tonight, Miramar is sharing its vision. So if there are developers or investors, we encourage you to bring your investment here to Miramar as you match our vision and your vision together. Successful projects will take community partnership. Miramar is saying, here is what we are looking for. This is the kind of project we want in our city. So pay close attention as we share our vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. So you heard it, over $2 million in an economic development fund, an opportunity zone for reinvestment. But in addition to that, at the east entrance of our city is the historic Miramar Gateway District. And here to give us some valuable information is Mr. Michael Moore, Assistant Director of Economic and Community Development. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Sean. Good evening, everyone. And although I'm listed on the agenda as in the present, and we're doing it now, everything I'm going to talk to you about is really for our future. Throughout the presentation, you heard from Mr. Silva and Mr. Gordon about all of the work that's been done in historic Miramar over the years. The studies, the charrettes, the utilities work, the infrastructure work, the horizontal work, as we call it, all to be prepared for the redevelopment of the area. I would like you to focus now on the eastern boundary of historic Miramar, the corridor along State Road 7. As Mr. Silva referenced earlier, this is our transit-oriented corridor. This was created in 2009 to be a catalyst of change in the area by providing the flexibility and incentives for redevelopment. However, without a champion, that change did not occur. And although the city had a vision of redeveloping and creating a transportation hub, it has been slow to come together. That all changed about 6 months ago, when at the direction of the city manager, staff began a new approach. Rather than being reactive to developers as they came into the city, staff has been proactive, educating property owners directly of all the possibilities along the corridor, all in search of property owners that share Miramar's redevelopment vision and the courage to be the first to create the spark needed for the area.
The City of Miramar has established a transit-oriented corridor to provide a wealth of opportunities for future growth and redevelopment. Up 441 and along the main thoroughfares such as County Line Road, Miramar Parkway, and Pembroke Road, this corridor will be an incubator for businesses and residences alike, lending to economic growth, an expansion in community density, and an increase in pedestrian-friendly space, accounting for walkability, beautification, and overall community enhancements. The corridor also incorporates an additional opportunity zone, which would revitalize areas in historic Miramar.
I would like you to imagine what could be done with a single block, or even better, a few blocks along State Road 7. Our vision is to transform this area into Miramar's Gateway District, a community that will be the catalyst to change for the entire city. Let me show you our vision. These first two slides are examples of a mixed-use residential and retail building, bringing the buildings closer to the street, creating more pedestrian activity. We will leverage the busiest transportation corridor in all of Broward County to create that hub. This is another example of a mixed-use concept that is textbook for the area. Because of the TOC designation, higher density is allowed. Parking requirements are more flexible, and the maximum building height is permitted up to 9 stories. Again, the TOC allows for higher density. And in this example, you can see the clustering of buildings that can be constructed to form that hub, again, that gateway community. In the final slide, you can see the promenade between the buildings, a vision that provides open air, green space that so many of us look to desire in these projects. This will also allow for events, activities, bringing the community together and further providing a destination for residents from all over the city to come to. All of these examples work together to create the Miramar Gateway District. The TOC allows for expedited reviews, and all of the examples I've just shown you can be administratively approved. This results in projects being built faster, sooner. Time to market is key to developers. Our process can save hundreds of thousands of dollars. Ms. Gooding spoke about the Economic and Development Fund, opportunity zones. We are going to leverage these incentives and resources to further motivate property owners along the corridor, encouraging target parcel assembly, promoting mixed-use development, partnering with surrounding businesses for commercial facade enhancements, and a variety of other improvements. Finally, as part of the city's vision, we want to help create a gateway district that encourages existing small businesses to relocate into the new district, maintaining the culture and the history of our diverse city. We do not want to displace our community providers, but rather create that stepping stone for them to grow and prosper right here in Miramar.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. At the helm of any progressive city is technology and all the benefits of its use. For the delivery of services such as public safety or utility services, here to tell us more about the possibilities of smart cities is Ms. Kamasha Sevilla, Director of Cultural Affairs.
Technological change is disruptive.
Artificial intelligence.
Robotics.
Automation.
Whole businesses are changing.
Retail. Fast food.
Driverless vehicles.
You guys are truck drivers. How do you feel about it?
I'm scared. I deliver your food that you're eating, and it's a good feeling as a human being. What would I do if I didn't drive? I really don't know what I would do.
These technologies that are coming along will displace millions of workers around the world,
which
would have a dramatic societal impact.
At At the same time, technologies are creating new jobs.
How do you think automation will evolve?
Machines are tools. If we have more powerful tools, we have more power to change the world.
No matter what your occupation, in the future, you're going to have an interaction with tech. There really should be some action legislators are taking.
What worries me is by the time we get around to dealing with this, it's going to be too late.
Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Commission, and esteemed residents and guests, what you just witnessed was the impact of change on the future of work. This inconvenient truth has placed cities in a virtual spiral to set themselves apart as world-class, having the ability to attract and retain talent, striving to deliver an environment where companies can prosper and compete, promoting ways to make their quality of life more desirable, and optimizing opportunities for their own economic development and investments. What we know for sure is that innovation and technology will be at the forefront of this preparation. Becoming a smart city is what will define how cities will answer this charge. Ones taking on this challenge will know that embarking on this focus will make them sustainable by reducing costs and optimizing resource consumption, inclusive and transparent, presenting communication channels as mutually beneficial and open, generate wealth, turning cities' data into competent analytics that makes sense of business, ultimately serving Why Miramar as the answer for retention and sustainability. More responsive because smart cities are made for citizens as they focus on solving community problems with innovation and technology. Cities of our stature, according to the U.S. Conference of Mayors 2018 study on our small cities, because we have a population of under 150,000 residents. Cities of this class, according to the report, have over 200 smart projects being planned to address governance, mobility, and transport, as well as infrastructure. In doing so, they are spending roughly about $1 million to get prepared for this inevitability. The foundation of all of these results are partnerships that are both public and private in nature and have key relationships with institutions of higher learning. The National League of Cities Trends in Smart Cities Development report of 2016 presents planning with strategies rooted in these beginnings as highly effective ones. Rising to that order, FIU's president, Dr. Rosenberg, has regarded that 275 million people worldwide will have to obtain new skills by 2030, understanding that smart cities is both an international solution as it is domestic. FIU has developed the first smart cities college degree in the nation in IoT. IoT meaning Internet of Things. This aside, Dr. Rosenberg notes that in US alone, there's up to 1/3 of those in the job market that must switch occupations or upgrade their skills. And 65% of students gearing up to get into the marketplace who get internships will be the ones who get that job. Make sense? This will impact institutions of higher learning by moving them from student-centered to learning-centered. The City of Miramar's assets, its housing of institutions of higher learning like FIU, and its companies make it a key breeding ground and factor in the smart cities equation. When considering the future of work's impact on Broward County schools, it is evident Superintendent Robert Runcie has already made decisions that have impacted our very own Miramar with change you can see. This reality is in direct response to the growth that has expanded us to a population size of 149,910 residents. In historic Miramar, where we are, Broward County Schools converted Henry D. Perry Middle School into Henry D. Perry Adult Education Center. This move on the surface can appear as if it displaced the community. Manager Hargrave notes very poignantly, students in elementary are generally your buddies in middle school. A Huxtable kid like me knows very well of this evolution. But what was the school board doing? They were reacting to data. It was the data that dictated and told them that our growth in population was not equidistant to our population's composition. Look how significant that is. That means what we're made of. This chart represents data the school board collected that clearly stated the age groups of 0 to 17 and 18 to 44 has decreased in percentage, while 45 to 64 and 65 plus has increased. In short, we aren't having kids at the rate we are growing. I'm definitely not, no more. This reality has presented information that shows a decrease in overall enrollment as a result. However, is this solely a Broward County School Board problem? Or is it a community matter, one of which we should be engaged in its solution? Our city manager, Hargrave's vision, will infuse training, innovation, productivity, and competitivity amongst our assets by placing the City of Miramar's historic hub in the middle of answering where the training ground for the future of work will be. It is important to continue to impress that smart cities of the future will be the ones that deliberately integrate technology into its operations to encourage collaboration, innovation, and solve problems. For that reason, you should know smart solutions are already here. They're in police. I see the chief here, where technology was adapted to improve neighborhoods by identifying warrants and criminals. In fire chief, by improving patient care using technology to communicate to hospitals to improve diagnosis. Aren't you excited you live in Miramar? In utilities, where SCADA system, standing for supervisory control and data acquisition, smart readers generate a universal means of remoting access to a variety of local control modules to read and analyze data from meters, driving efficiencies and cost savings into the operation. And in IT, I see our IT director back there, with their ventures in digital signage and Wi-Fi analytics that will better gauge who is here, where they are, quantifying how our assets are being leveraged. Now, can you imagine a city breeding a village full of innovators where they are preparing for the future? Can you imagine an environment that's solving the problems of the city by challenging innovation? Can you imagine these tools increasing economic prosperity and enhancing your quality of life? Well, the future can look just like this in Miramar.
As millions of citizens across the world sleep, there's a technology revolution taking place. Welcome to Kansas City, Missouri, where we are building one of the world's smartest connected cities. At Think Big Partners, you'll find entrepreneurs, innovators, large established companies, and startups from around the globe working together to build tomorrow's solutions. Think Big will manage Kansas City's Living Lab, an innovation platform where the best ideas and emerging Internet of Things technologies can be tested on roads, bridges, buildings, and other city assets. By combining Cisco's expertise along with other industry leaders, the ingenuity of the world's entrepreneur and innovation ecosystem can help build these smart city solutions together. When the lights go down in Kansas City, residents across 319 square miles sleep soundly, while 93,000 streetlights burn bright. The opportunity to reduce streetlight costs while saving precious energy is now a reality. Sensity's NetSense Light Sensory Network solution in Kansas City unlocks the power of the Internet of Everything across the lighting infrastructure, including improved public safety, improved parking and traffic, and enhanced security. Self-monitoring light fixtures send fault alerts to centralized systems that can even detect copper theft and prevent costly unscheduled maintenance. But that's just the beginning. Today's smart streetlight will serve as the foundation for a high bandwidth, low latency wireless sensor network that can move large amounts of big data while simultaneously providing Wi-Fi access to citizens and public servants. Sensors will be able to alert the streetcar system operator and drivers when a car is blocking the path of the oncoming streetcar. At the same time, cities will be able to more efficiently manage parking enforcement through in-ground parking sensors by Altuix, World Sensing, and other technology partners. This technology revolution is taking everyday citizen experiences and its problems and turning diagnostic data into corrective action that makes a difference. This means fewer headaches with lower costs to more effectively run a modern city. Through the captive portal powered by Cisco Enterprise Mobility Services Platform, or EMSP, context-aware mobile and kiosk experiences are delivered to citizens by bringing together infrastructure, mobile apps, and cloud services. Using context-aware data and location-based services, EMSP opens up the possibility for businesses to promote personalized offers to citizens who are in their vicinity. Through interactive digital kiosks by CityPost, along with its suite of mobile applications, a new golden age of information consumption will begin. We are looking for innovators, people and companies who want to join us in this mission to develop new applications that can help solve world problems associated with fast-growing cities. If you want to build technology that can be tested in Kansas City's Living Lab, have a new idea for an application, or are a growing city looking for a solution to your unique problem, we invite you to get involved. Together, we've created a faster, smarter, and better way to build technologies that can help improve the world. Won't you join us?
In order to make Smart City a reality, it is imperative to explore opportunities for partnerships, consider education, community involvement and lifestyle impacts, reinvestment, and operational efficiencies. As such, Mr. Calvin Baker, Chief Operations Officer, will explore what's next with the historic Miramar Innovation and Technology Village and the CARE program. Mr. Baker.
Good evening, man. I give you all an applause for being so patient. We have looked at the past, we've looked at the present, and now the future of historic Miramar. Historic Miramar is where it all started. As we began our presentation, you saw an elevated storage tank, and surrounding that elevated storage tank was nothing but property. So someone had to imagine, someone had to truly think out of the box and picture. And because they imagined, we are here where we are today. Can we give it up one more time for historic Miramar? Again, the present is where we are. And this is a very critical point in our city history. What we're experiencing now is a product of yesterday's vision. Someone said this is like a return on someone's investment. We invested in West Miramar and have reaped great benefits as a result of that investment. But now it's time, and the time has come for our focus to be recast, our vision for the future to become even more clear. So this evening, we want you to sit back. We want you to look at this video clip of the possibilities of our future right here in historic Miramar. How where we are right now can be the economic engine to drive this city into its future. So it's with great excitement that we unveil to you this evening our new and proposed historic Miramar Innovation and Technology Village.
The next smart city. Behind the familiar, beneath the surface, is a diamond in the rough. Innovators ask, why Miramar? Vision is 2020, and we're recapturing the vision of past, present, and future. Rejuvenate, innovate, consolidate. This is your new hub for a sustainable live, work, and play lifestyle. And it's a safe place to be. Cultivate the new generation of problem solvers. Pioneer a high-tech innovation center equipped with a technology hub, a library, and all the space you need.
Numerous types of culture programs, culinary arts, food vendors, catering companies, the film industry, the performing art industry. And all of these are opportunities for these various groups to come together to make this a major destiny, not just a destiny right here, not just a destiny for us here, but a destiny that will attract individuals throughout South Florida. In our recent meetings, we've had an opportunity to sit down and meet with the superintendent of schools. We've had an opportunity to meet with the county manager. We've had an opportunity to meet with the head of FIU. But what was extremely significant in all of those meetings is that we all had some common interests. We also all had some common goals. And as we shared among ourselves, we're like, well, if we all have common goals and we can all come together, we can do something that perhaps have never been done in this country. And so what you have before you here is an opportunity for the city to bring unique opportunities to the table, bring various stakeholders to the table, an opportunity for partnerships where we have the state of Florida, Broward County schools, colleges and universities, the technical industry, master developers, opportunities for community development corporations. And what's unique about this is that it's an opportunity to leverage assets. These are assets that perhaps have never been tapped before. But the beauty is that we have them, and when we look at the future, we recognize, as Manager Hargrave so often says, we can no longer use Don Shula's playbook. We have to use a different model. Again, our history shows, when we look into our history shows our city being a city very aggressive, a city willing to take risks, a city that sees opportunities to be the very best that it can be. And so what we have before us here is that same type of opportunity. Again, as we look at this site plan before us here, we see roughly 18 acres that's currently owned by the school board. And in our meetings with the school board, due to state funding, it is very difficult for the superintendent of schools to move our city, move our county in the direction that it needs to move in. We have an increasing number of adult education issues that they're unable to meet. We've already learned that the SMART initiatives is coming at us faster than we can imagine. But this is an opportunity for us to not be at the back of the 8 ball, but to be in front of the 8 ball and carve out a plan to make this truly a reality. It doesn't just stop there, but it brings the northern side of historical Miramar, the northern side of our markets, B&M and the future Taco Bell. It brings them all into that loop, because we have an opportunity zone over there that we can use to leverage to make this all a reality. I want you to look at some examples. Again, we challenge you and we say, just imagine what it could possibly look like. Like the early leaders imagined when we had total green area, and they imagine where we are today. These are some examples of what it can potentially look like. This particular example here coming straight off of Miramar Parkway, directly where the Publix is today. This is one example of what it can look like. Give us the next slide, please. Here's another one here of an outdoor plaza, and notice the architecture features there, how something of this example here can tie in with the proposed Taco Bell. I want to start right there and just highlight something, a major trend that is going on now. You see it in shopping centers all across the country, that shopping center owners that own parking lots, they are now beginning to develop the outer parcel of their properties. They recognize that there's very little traffic throughout the week, and it's very difficult for many of those businesses to thrive and rely on just weekend activity. So they're developing them, and so we are now beginning to see examples of that nature with the up and coming, the potential Taco Bell there. Again, here's another example. Again, we're looking at high density construction. We're looking at an opportunity to have a transit hub there. We're looking at opportunities for teacher housing, workforce housing, affordable housing. Again, unlimited education opportunities. And we talked about the significance of having a smart city and rolling out smart city initiatives so that throughout our city there's always connectivities. We've also talked about 5G. And perhaps you're not aware of 5G, but 5G is not that it's coming, it's already here. And so the question is, if it's already here, do we seize this opportunity to embrace this innovation technology village to make it possible? Again, as I stated earlier, if we don't get in front of the 8 ball, oftentimes the 8 ball runs you over. And another great opportunity we have, we're just fortunate to have so many new initiatives, new tools in our toolbox to allow development to not occur 5-10 years from now, but to begin happening right now, right here in historic Miramar. We have another great opportunity that perhaps is one of our best kept secrets, and that is we have a foreign and direct trade opportunities. Did you know that we happen to sit in the center of Broward County Airport and Miami Airport? And what is unique about it, that each one of them is roughly just 20 minutes away. What a great place for entrepreneurs and developers to reside in our city, where they will have the ability to do foreign trade investments right here in historic Miramar. Historic Miramar will become a premier destination for live entertainment, the arts, culture, and the initial project from the community may include the curation of modular installations serving as incubators to assist artists and entrepreneurs and businesses into developing their marketing platform. This place will create a platform for them to showcase their diverse background and experiences in many of the areas that we mentioned. Now, perhaps you're saying, as we come to the close of our gathering today, what's next? And to go deeper into that question, How do we pay for it? How many are questioning that right now? Just raise your hand. It's okay. It's okay. How will we pay for it? In the latter part of 2018, our manager rolled out an initiative called CARE. And CARE is a comprehensive assessment of our revenues and expenditures, a comprehensive assessment of our revenues and expenditures. And what CARE does is that CARE looks for untapped assets in our city that have yet to be leveraged. And CARE takes those untapped assets and generate revenue, generate recurring revenue, sustainable revenue, revenue that can be pledged, or a portion of the revenues that can be pledged to fund an initiative of this magnitude. Again, we're not talking hundreds and thousands of dollars. We're talking millions of dollars as to what it will take to bring this economic stimulus right here in historic Miramar. It's not an issue where we would have to go to the taxpayers and request some special increase or whatever. We're taking the very assets that we have right now, the assets that we're so fortunate to have, and using it as leverage to bring about a significant change right here in historic Miramar. Looking at our revenues, taking a look at how we use energy and reducing our carbon footprint and saving perhaps millions of dollars in our energy costs, and redirecting those savings into developing this technology advanced facility. Public-private partnership is something. In the coming months, we'll be bringing numerous of public-private partnerships that will enable us, again, to leverage our assets and use those funds to pledge for some type of loan to build this innovation technology village. Again, the beauty of this whole concept is a couple of months ago, the manager and I, we just so happened to be in Tallahassee looking for funding, and we had an opportunity to visit the director of Florida Energy Protection. And in our meeting with him, he said, I got about $5 million, but I'm looking for something innovative, I'm looking for something green, and I'm looking for something that I've not seen anywhere. And we quickly volunteered to be the model. And so what you see here, you see something that will require developers putting skin in the game, the state putting skin in the game, businesses, again, we talked about the opportunity zone, businesses putting skin in the game, education institutions putting skin in the game, county, and obviously us as a city. This is not just a possibility. This is truly something that can become a reality right here in historic Miramar. Can you imagine with me, well, the area that we just made available to you, what it can potentially look like 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now? Our early visionaries looked at an elevated storage tank and all we saw was green. But someone imagined something different than just plain land. And we can do the same thing. We've invested on the west side. And we've done a great job. But now the opportunity exists for us to come back home, and coming back home and making this something that our city has never seen before. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the future is here. This visioning exercise puts the long term ahead of the short term. We have explored all the opportunities that are available to us. It is our responsibility, and so we ask ourselves, what are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What role will Miramar play? But most importantly, what role will you play? What role will I play? We've presented to you infrastructure improvements, the transit-oriented corridor, public buildings, streetscape projects, Miramar's Economic Development Fund with over $2 million, opportunity zones for reinvestment, and a merit of development projects. We have also presented to you the historic Miramar Gateway District, smart city ingenuity and future possibilities. We've presented the historic Miramar Innovation and Technology Center, or in Technology Village, opportunities for future partnerships, workforce housing, which is so very important, a dynamic fusion of arts, workforce, and entertainment, revenue enhancement initiatives through the CARE program, and shared goals and collaborative efforts with external agencies. This vision, however, no matter how elaborate it is, will never be complete without input from our elected officials. And so at this time, we will turn the floor over to our mayor and city commission for their comments and input. However, just before we do that, we just wanted to remind you that you got comment cards at the beginning of this program. So if you would please complete them so that we can collect them so that your vision and your input could also be a part of our vision. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Let's give our staff another round of applause for a great presentation. You know, over the last month, I've literally have had the opportunity to brag about our city, and this presentation is just one example of why I'm able to brag about the city of Miramar, because of the decisions that we make, the challenges and the opportunities that we identify, and on top of that, coming up with ideas to determine how we deal with those opportunities. Miramar, our city, we're at a crossroads right now. We are at a crossroads right now, and we have to act now. This is not the time to cower. We have an amazing opportunity before us. The days of excuses are over. The days of complaining are over. We know what we have to do, because now we have a new vision, a new opportunity to define where the future of Miramar will go. And the great thing about it is that we have a clean slate. Working together, the city commission, city staff, city residents, our corporate residents, we have an opportunity to literally create our future, and that is what makes it so exciting. We've laid the groundwork We've created the surgery on historic Miramar in terms of putting in our infrastructure and engineering to make all of these options and opportunities possible. These aren't the sexy projects. God knows we've gotten a lot of calls about infrastructure work that's going on right now in our community, and that will continue to go on as we continue to progress. So in my closing remarks, what I would like to say is this. Here are some realities. We are not going into a gig economy. The gig economy is here. Innovation, automation, artificial intelligence is not only an opportunity, but it has had impacts on our residents. We have residents right now that's being displaced from their jobs. Think about this, the turnpike. Remember the turnpike? We used to go to the turnpike. We used to stop at the booth, get our paper ticket, drive a few miles, hand it to the teller. If we don't have exact change, they give us, when was the last time have you done that? What happened to the thousands of tellers throughout the turnpike system that used to depend on a paycheck manning those booths? They're no longer there because we have devices on our windshield that automatically draws our currency to pay the state to travel on the turnpike. That is a real life example of how automation and technology is redefining work. Now, this opportunity with our potential partners with the school district, FIU, who's already has a presence here, is critical. We brag about all the Fortune 500 companies that we have in this city. But that's today. 20 years from now, those Fortune 500 companies may not even exist. Think about Amazon. Just 15 years ago, they were just an online bookstore. And now they're the largest online retailer, and one of the richest companies in the world. For us to to keep our leadership, we have to have a city that will attract the new Fortune 500 companies 20 and 30 and 40 years from today. So we have to anticipate where technology is going. We have to make the strategic decisions today to invest in the assets that will prepare us to be able to bring in these companies and to keep these companies. But more importantly, it's always about our people. We can take advantage of this opportunity while not leaving our residents and our businesses behind. That is why this innovation village is so important. We will be able to offer higher education and vocational training for the skill sets that will be needed for this gig economy. One of the main things companies look for when looking at an area to plant their headquarters is what is the talent base? What are the skill sets? And we are ripe. South Florida is ripe to be the next Bay Area, the next Silicon Valley. We're the gateway to all of the emerging markets in the Caribbean and South America. So we must take an opportunity now. We must be aggressive. Our peer cities aren't thinking this way. So for us to gravitate to becoming a smart city where we're actually using data to drive decisions instead of perception, how novel is that? Where we can be more efficient in our decision making and make the right decisions and be better custodians of our tax dollars. So residents, Miramar, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready for our future? The good thing about our future is that we don't have to wait for our future because our future begins today. And I'm so glad that we all here have the opportunity to work together. No decision has been made. So this isn't a presentation about something that has been made and thrown down the resident's throat. We all have an opportunity to contribute, to add our voice so that we can deliver Miramar's future. So thank you so much, staff, for a great presentation, and I look forward to our next steps.
Mr. Mayor, We welcome comments from the city commission if there's any input that we need to notate so that we can make it part of our project.
So at this time, we'll open the comments for the city commission. So do we want to just go down the line, or if by show of hands? Commissioner Barnes, you recognize.
First of all, my apologies. My key is not the best device at the moment. It's suffering major problems. So if I sneak out of here, it's because I'm trying to get a new one before 9 o'clock comes tonight. But these words I have to share. I think what we've seen this evening is the clear articulation of the value of our employees. I'd like to share a story about how we actually moved from this general area to our new city hall in 2003, 2004. It had nothing, I like to tell people, it had nothing to do with the commission. It had nothing to do with the mayor. It had to do with staff. Why? Staff was the one who told us that our city hall might be moved any day, any time, by the rats who had infested the building. I remember staff telling us, whoa, the rats really run things around here. And it is out of that motivation from staff, or you might say the motivation that came from the rats, who caused us to move to a new city hall. My only complaint this evening, and more an observation than a complaint, is that I've not heard mention in all the presentations this evening the concept of gentrification. Anyone who knows a place called Harlem, from the days I knew that city, the Harlem of the 1960s doesn't even exist anymore. Residents had to move out. Some felt they were forced out. As I've said in a number of fora in the past, at commission meetings and elsewhere, please do not allow gentrification to happen in historic Miramar. Some of the thoughts that came to mind over the last couple of days is for us to again look at the possibility of increasing the number of commissioners that sit on our commission. That is something that I think is warranted at least an examination, because things have changed a whole lot in this city since the 1950s. I'm also suggesting that going forward, we look at the possibility of assigning specific sectors or districts to commissioners. A lot of our residents already think that this is so. And my final observation, please, I beg the commission to go along with me. I beg staff to go along with me. I've started some time ago. When developers and all the plans that we've seen this evening, when we speak to our developers, plead with them, beg of them, that when they speak about affordable housing, these are not just platitudes, but they have real meaning. Our city has been designated by a number of data compilers as the most expensive city to live in Broward County. We have staff members who have relatives who have actually moved out of the city of Miramar. They couldn't afford housing here. These are my thoughts going forward, and again, my congratulations and commendation for the staff is unbounded for the presentation that we've experienced this evening. And again, I thank you so much for the incredible work that has brought us to this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Barnes.
Good evening, everyone. It's a little bit awkward sitting with my back turned to the audience, so I'm opted to use this microphone. Many thanks to everyone that are here tonight, and I would like to thank staff and everyone who worked on this project, this presentation, I should say. It's a pleasure to be here serving in the city of Miramar. I grew up just on the other side of here in Dade County, Carroll City, and now it's Miami Garden, but I know it is Carroll City. And I remember when it was not kosher to drive over here in Miramar. It was totally different makeup back then. But here I am today, and my children are here, and my family's here, and some families still in Miami Garden. So things have changed, no doubt. A young man who came here all the way from Jamaica, 18 years old, and I'm standing here in front of you today. So it's a pleasure to be here. As we move forward with the City of Miramar and progress is going to be made, I remember moving forward to the west, there was some casualty, which is wildlife, but we still expand. And now as we move back to the east, we must expect some casualty. And as Mr. Commissioner Bond said, gentrification must be expected, but it's something that's always bothered me. That's something that I fought for recently for some of our businesses out here in the east and some of our residents. We have to take them into consideration and make sure things are at least less painful moving forward. Of course, some of this will not happen quickly. I don't know which way things will go moving forward with the commission. We have to vote and move things in positive direction. One of the things lately that I noticed after helping someone to move, it was a 2-story, 1 flight up, and hadn't I kept myself in shape, I would not been able to assist this resident to move to the 2nd floor. So moving forward, we have to find a way to make sure anything 3-story and above should have an elevator. It's something we have to look into, especially when we're going to have elderly residents that need to live above a 2nd floor. So what do we have to do with the economic development planning, with the South planning and zoning? I know we don't control all of that, but we have to make sure that we can have that a requirement for 3rd story and up to have an elevator. It is what it is. We are here and we are trying to move the city forward. We have done a great job so far. We have lost some employees who had moved on to other jobs, and unfortunately they're not here to partake with us. It's very unfortunate, but we gotta keep it moving. It's life, and I'm saying it is what it is. So with that said, thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to serve, a pleasure to be here with you, and I'll open for any question later on. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Davis, you recognize.
I'm quite comfortable staying seated, but it's really great to be here. I do like the work that has been presented here this evening. In fact, when I first became commissioner back in 2010, the move at that time was that if we build it, they will come. And we expanded all the way west. But unfortunately, we really didn't see the historic neighborhoods, the residents coming and following us west. And that's when the thought process came that we do need to make sure we have similar facilities, similar things, East, Central, and West Miramar. And so I'm really pleased to see that we are really taking this bold step. It started with small steps, such as the Shirley Branca bandshell, where we now have entertainment that we can do locally in the historic neighborhoods. Yesterday, we broke ground at the historic police substation. And so things are really coming to roost. And I'm really glad that you're here to see the vision that the city has presented for this area. I've lived all over Miramar. I started off of 64th Avenue myself, lived over in Woodscape, lived in Central Miramar by Sherman Circle. And you know, I'm further west now, but it seems like I need to make sure that I secure a spot back east because it's gonna look real good in the future. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here today, and we have a lot more to look forward to here in this historic neighborhood.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Colburn.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Good evening. It's great to see everyone out here today for a vision session. This is not a new movie out or anything, but here the residents know the seriousness and the importance of coming out and getting involved and knowing what's going on in your community, and you're out here. So thank you all so very much for coming to the City of Miramar Vision session. To staff, I want to say that you did an awesome job. You guys were really showing off today. This was really beautiful. Thank you so very much. I recall years ago, early 2000, being part of meetings that we had with the community, as part of the community at the time when we were developing the transit corridor. You know, I've had the pleasure of serving over the years and being part of decision-making with the infrastructure and many of the development here in the city. So tonight I sit proudly and knowing that I'm now part, one more time, of us taking this to the next level. So I'm truly excited about the things that I've heard. A couple weeks ago, I had the privilege of going along with a team here from Broward County to Decatur, Georgia, for a walkability study and see what that city has done to make the community where residents want to walk. You have mixed use, you have the commercial, you have great restaurants and businesses there, and entertainment, and it was great experience. Today I've gone to two meetings, and both meetings there were presentations on smart cities. When we go to the League of Cities, they're talking about smart cities. So I'm excited to know that my staff here are really focused on what the rest of the country is focusing on. So I truly appreciate that, and I look forward to hearing from the residents, making sure that those that are affected most, they are here tonight, many are here tonight, but that those that are affected most are part of what we're doing here in the city of Miramar. So I look forward to their comments. Thank you all.
Yeah. Do we have any comment cards that are being sent forward? I guess residents were that impressed. No questions, no comments. Yes. 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 Yeah, so these comments will be compiled in terms of what residents are important to them. And for those residents who have not been able to write out a card, if you can always email the city, you can email myself, my office, or any of the commissioners, and we will get them to our staff. Do know that any development project would have to go through, depending on entitlements, would have to go through a public comment proceeding. So there won't be any decisions made without the knowledge and the input of the community. So we just want to let the community know that this presentation is just to talk about the vision, what the possibilities are as we prepare for the future. So at this time, it is now 8:09, 2 hours from our start time. We'd like to thank everyone for coming out this evening. And at this time, this meeting is adjourned.